Hey, so I just wanted to share this part of my book with you. I don't know if this is what people want to see and hear on YouTube, but the aftermath, alongside with me sharing the bits I have learned, which I gained from that, is my passion, it is my drive. And that's by connecting dots from my then to my now and how it's impacted my life, but also how I can take the abilities that I gained from then to take the positivity and place that in my life. And I share that in the hope that others that have lived the same life, the same aftermath of domestic abuse, can find peace in my words to realise that they were never alone. So here goes, the fire on the lawn. Some moments in time, no matter how hard you try, they linger like that sense and action, a memory. My first core memory, I always felt it, I knew, I lived it, I see, the flames and the warmth, but this wasn't a happy memory for me. They burned in front of my eyes in a garden, me and my siblings lined up together side by side, watching our toys set alight. This is what I knew to be true. I was there, yet I never knew. It was never confirmed. Was it a nightmare? It was hard to gauge from what were true and what was real. Confusing, I know, believe me, a nightmare, my reality, my not so home. I know. See, within this moment of being led to this trial, my trauma holding my hand once more. Upon listening to audio and seeing my story, it had led me to a place I had dared to not go. A real moment of getting stuck in. Watching pictures upon my screen of a supposed smashed up room. Set up for the camera, I see as clear as day, if only that was my smashed up bedroom that day. My husband came home, I had tears in my eyes, I was in deep and couldn't rationalise. I was stood next to my trauma, holding my hand, he looked at me and said, T, please no. See, he had watched me here time and time again, lost in my mind, the fallen, lost in the vortex, bumping into memories in my mind, full of a burden and pain. I look back now and he must have thought, how long will it be until I see my wife again? Sometimes I could lose her hand and clamber away out of that ditch I had fallen in, but sometimes it was too deep, and even his hand reaching out could never drag me back out. I'm okay, I said, it's okay, wiping away my tears. Knowing my heart wasn't thinking the words I was speaking, for it was like a drug, an addiction, a need to see it through. This is different, and I knew. See, once in that ditch, playing in your pain, your mind slips and wants to take you away with an emotional and very irrational behaviour. These triggers around you go into overdrive. They are everywhere. You become trapped in that moment, that blackout, that void, unable to meet the goals you have followed in order to survive. For when you get locked in, your daily job starts to slack, you wake up in that cloud, you self-indulge in any feeling, any emotion, all the triggers you see, a constant battle to free yourself from your mind, that feeling of letting it all down. Your children, your babies, you were a failure. They're better off without. It would be better off if you were in a car crash, and once your mind goes there, it's got you sat there under a pile of hate, basking almost, as this is what we know. Are familiar. It's much more easier to slip in this pit than get back on top, especially when you've been here before. Time after time, it's tiring and draining. It makes you want to surrender and walk into the bad and avoid the good. The life you have created, the happy you can be, although a struggle to settle in to that, it can work and you do find your pace of acceptance. That is until a trigger comes along, like I say, could be anything, a movie or a song. For me, fire had been a thing until I connected the dot. It all came together at my niece's baby shower that day. I sat down with my auntie a few drinks in, and of course, we went there. We always do. Tends to happen when this is all your past, you share and know. For not a lot of good times here. Even if there are, they are floating around in my mind, hidden and out of sight, as this scares me to go there and have a route around, as this action can bring me crashing back down. So my mind and past experience tells me. So she looked me in the eyes, my auntie that is, come on, keep up, and said, T, say nothing to your mum for fear of a trigger, because this is the aftermath and how we all come to live. The day he set your toys on fire in front of you kids in that garden was the day She should have left him. My heart was in my mouth, a relief to hear my core memory and my sorrow at the 3-year-old me, that little girl now 39, who needed that moment to finally be confirmed all of her life. As the not knowing has made me sick, messed with my mind and led me to places I should not have gone. And already I know you're thinking, why all this time? You see, here is the thing. My mom never had this court case, this app that I have found. She never got to meet her kinds of people to be blessed with this avalanche of bravery and openness. She was still that trapped young woman within, skated around the edge of that trauma, that ditch, that pit. She was not able to learn and grow. She was trapped in denial, held by that ransom, and blocked this all out in the guilt. I sometimes wonder. I also know and heard what he done to her at night. I used to get up and pretend to be poorly in the hope of a distraction, knowing the risk, putting a red flag in front of me to try and draw the bull into my direction. There is a real cloud, a void, a moment. It's gone. She too had that vortex in her mind, one surrounded by so much guilt, one where no doubt it had drip-fed her mind of that toxic violet of how she had failed us over and over, a bigger ditch in which she could not lay, as this would really, really take her away. I didn't get the answers for all of these years, but then this incident was one of many, a needle in a haystack of Dungeons and Dragons, the games in my home, and now they play out in my mind. Like a trigger of a simple fire or leaving my kids to stay away would lead me into overthinking, sat on the edge, visualising fires in the night, in the building they were in, and me not being there to protect them and save them. This would play me a visit one day in my aftermath.